Oh. Hey there, friends. We made it. It's Monday. How you doing there? My name is Jeff Fritz. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. And today is Monday, October 10th, 2022. This is Learn C Sharp with CSharpFritz. How you doing out there, chat room? It's been a bit of a weekend for me, let me tell you. A lot going on, a lot happening around the house, a lot of planning going on. We're getting ready for .NET Conf coming up, and we're going through, we're handling things, and I'm excited to be back. We're gonna wrap up our sample project today. We're gonna put a bow on it. We're gonna call it done, and we're gonna get ready to move on to our next project, our next topic that we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about .NET MAUI starting next week. Oh yeah, there's a lot to discuss there. So I'm looking forward to getting in, talking about all of the cool things we can do with .NET MAUI, all the direction we can go with it, and showing you some of those samples, some of those capabilities, and going through and building another sample project together. Let me bring up, chat room is a little bit slow starting here this morning. Let me bring up the chat room. We could say hello to folks. There they are, right over there. Hello, I see Thindall there. I saw Steve a little bit earlier, Stephen D. I'm doing well. Stephen with a question here, asking, did I manage to fix and upload the code from last week's session? Yes. So we had a problem at the end of last week's session where for some reason our database wouldn't load. Turns out, it wasn't being copied over properly to the production space. I've updated and added a note to the end of last week's session. You can find it over there on the GitHub, github.com. I should have the GitHub command running there. github.com/CSharpFritz/C# with CSharpFritz. I can post that in both streams here today. Of course, we're broadcasting to both YouTube and Twitch. We're on youtube.com/.net, twitch.tv/Visual Studio. I see some folks, more folks wandering in there. Bradfield is here from Cape Town, South Africa. Welcome in, Bradfield. Diego from Rosario, Argentina. Yeah, welcome. Good to see you. Crafton Jr. Hello to you. Taufik Patel. How's it going there? Arian is here from North Macedonia. Welcome. Taufik learned C# ADO and ASP, now learning MVC. Fantastic. MVC, I feel like, is a framework that gets you as close to the metal as possible without and kind of forcing you into a framework that's going to, you're going to be successful with it. There's no other way around it. There are things that block you from making silly mistakes. There are people who still do silly and goofy things with it that you probably shouldn't. Opening and creating massive database connections inside of Razor files. Folks logging and doing all kinds of massive computation inside their Razor files. Folks writing controllers that are doing many, many, many things instead of just pulling together the view and the model and sending it out. Controllers need to be dumb. Controllers need to be doing as little as possible. Offload and put that logic somewhere else. Makes it much more testable. MVC gives you that more testable, more organized framework that's right on the metal. You're not tinkering with anything. You don't have to worry about getting all kinds of different frameworks working together. Focus on just the MVC and you're going to do just fine. Surge Dev is here on Twitch. Good to see you. Thindoll says, I need to learn to place a code service in a solution with 150 projects. You joined the team a week ago. Why 150 projects? Even in a .NET solution that's publishing, let's say, a Windows application, a web application, maybe a web service, and a mobile application, maybe a couple libraries, you've got maybe at the most 10 projects. So I'm 150 projects. Why? Can some of those be consolidated? Why do we need 150 projects? There's lines that are being drawn there in your distribution model that I bet you can refactor and eliminate at least 40 to 60 of those. At least. Totally random, I bet. Hey, PC Nerd is here on Twitch. Greetings and salutations to you. Welcome in. 3-Putt Wonder. Hello. Yeah, you must have a pretty good golf score there. I bet you've got a pretty good handicap. Good to see you, 3-Putt Wonder. Welcome in. Cold Hands Chai is here from India. Welcome in. Abhishek from Bangalore. Hello, hello. Stevens from Melbourne, Australia. See that? We're getting a bunch of continents covered here. So we've already got some folks from South Africa. We got some folks from India, some folks from Australia. I bet you there's a European person or two there, maybe a South American, and we're going to have all the continents covered in no time. Other than MVC, what should you learn? Asks Taufik. Take a look at Blazor. The Blazor components you're going to be able to reuse and get into your MVC application, and you're going to be able to do some pretty interesting things reusing and taking advantage of Blazor components. I've been very happy with those. MVC gives you a phenomenal way, like I said, to build right on the metal, but there are things you want to abstract to be able to just pull in and use that somebody else has built, and Blazor gets you that very nice reusable component architecture that, quite frankly, we've been accustomed to for many, many years in the .NET communities, and all kinds of other technologies are picking up and using a similar approach now where they wouldn't several years ago. Let me get some music playing here in the background. We'll continue greeting some folks. We've got about 35 minutes more on our greetings and AMA here. This is Stream Beats. This is Stream Beats by Harris Heller. This is music that is royalty-free, DMCA-free. You can listen to it wherever you'd like. No penalty, no challenges on copyrights or fees. Check it out at streambeats.com. They've got genres available with all kinds of music for you, and you can play it on Apple Music, Amazon Music, or Spotify. like I'm listening to here. Check it out, streambeats.com. Big thanks to Harris Heller for making this music available for us to listen to today. Let me see here. Steven likes the hat. Where can you get it? These, so this with my emote on it, my purple bot with the hearts on it. I make these available for charity donations at various times during the year over on my channel. I don't sell logo wear with my emotes. So if you see someone selling a shirt, selling a hat with one of my emotes on it from my Twitch channel, they're stealing money. It's a team of 25 people. That's not an excuse. That's a group of 25 people that need to learn how to communicate together better. Hey Strug, good to see you in Russia. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're staying safe. J Pans is here. Have a look at PowerToys repository solution. Has hundreds of projects also. So PowerToys is an assembly of, right? It's a consolidation of it's a project of projects, right? There's all these little tools that were built, and each one is a separate application, and they've been stitched together. So there's another place where they could probably consolidate as well, but yeah. Jason Bach is here. How you doing, Jason? Jason's a friend, and good to see you. Sometimes when I do a presentation, I'll ask the audience who has the most projects in a solution. Highest number so far, 250. 250! Are you kidding me? Woo! Winstow is here from Ukraine. Welcome in. Hello, hello. Hope you're staying safe. Hope you and your family are doing well. Welcome in. Final Stack is on Twitch. How you doing there? SparkMod says Blazor is a powerful framework. Been making components and reusing them in all their projects. Fantastic. Yeah, Blazor really is becoming a preferred framework for a lot of folks. A lot of different places you can use it. It works phenomenal on the server. It's really cool in the browser, and it works great in the Maui hybrid projects. And we'll see more about those coming up in the weeks ahead. How you doing there, Benny? Good to see you. Not a problem, Taufik. That's why we're here, to support and guide and answer questions and have this conversation, right? To facilitate these conversations. Coming out of pandemic, even when we were in pandemic, it's good to have conversations with folks when you don't have... No, rephrase. When you're at school and you have an instructor, or you go to a conference, you go to a workshop, and you have an instructor that you can talk to and ask questions of, and they can point you in the right direction if they don't know the answer to something, or if they do know the answer, or they can walk through a demo with you, that's really valuable. And that's what I like to do here. Be that instructor, that sounding board that's going to facilitate a little bit of conversation, and hopefully we have a little bit of fun together too. Taking a look, going around the horn here. Khaled, hello to you in Yemen. Welcome in. I think that's the first person that we've had mention that they're from Yemen here. Thank you so much. Winstow asks, is it Winstow or Winsta? Let me know. Which do I prefer, MVC or Razor Pages? Oh man, you're asking me to choose between... There's a different time and place for them. When I'm building APIs, of course, I like MVC. When I'm building just a standalone, easy website, I prefer Razor Pages. I don't like going through all the ceremony of MVC to build websites right now, where Razor Pages, for the most part, for simple web pages, giving me that very page-first type of interaction, I feel like Razor Pages gets me there faster. That's just me. Ahmed asks, what's the name of the music played at the start of the live streams? So the song that I play here at the start of the stream here, let me go grab that. That song is called Techno Motivational, and I picked that up from I picked that up from a service called Audio Jungle. I purchased a license for it. It is licensed. It is not royalty free. I do need to purchase and stay within the limitations of that license. So I purchase music from Audio Jungle to use. Oh boy, let me try and Abdarrahman. Hello to you in Morocco. Thank you so much for joining us. 3-Putt Wonder says one project to rule them all. Hang on. Let me say that right. Can I do this again? Wait one second. I can get this right. One project to rule. No. One project to rule them all. That's a thing. Digital Lab for Africa TV. Hello to you in Abidjan. Good to see you. Suleiman, hello. Popsy on Twitch says, they're in their first development job. Congratulations. We got to celebrate that. That is fantastic. Always great to hear folks getting their first software development job. Using web forms, feel a little jealous of all the MVC Blazor stuff everyone seems to talk about. So, I can understand that. It's web forms is a technology that's been around for 22 years. I was the program manager of it for a while. There's a lot you can do with web forms. There's a lot you can pivot and add in and integrate with web forms that folks don't look at. You need to really get a little bit outside the box with web forms to make happen. Because some of the things that folks suggest and recommend you do with web forms is, while compliant with the framework, a little bit of a waste of time. A little bit of doing too much when you don't need it. Web forms doesn't always need to use postback. Web forms doesn't always need to use viewstate. In fact, I try and turn viewstate off by default across applications when I use web forms. When you turn viewstate off, you get closer to Razor pages than other folks, than you might think. You get really close to it. You still have your events, you still have components. And there's great things that you can do with that. But by default, when I work with web forms, I turn off viewstate, and it's going to get you closer. You're not going to be able to bring in Blazor. Blazor is a .NET Core thing. You're not going to be able to reference anything there. You can bring in some MVC capabilities and integrate and reuse some of those across that. Take a look at some blog posts from way long time ago, 2009, 2010, about building hybrid ASP.NET apps. And you can build some content in MVC and include it and reference it from web forms. That'll at least get you feeling and using some of that technology. And the reason that I'm encouraging you to do that is because then when you're ready to migrate to .NET 6, .NET 7, and get into the modern cross-platform ASP.NETs, now you've got some of your code, some of your content running with the new technology. It's going to shorten that on-ramp for you to get over there. And that's something that for you as a new developer is going to make you look pretty smart, going to make you look pretty forward-thinking to bring and consider, hey, here's how we can start to use some of these other technologies together with web forms. So MVC works on .NET Framework. It's a slightly different flavor. It's an older version, but it works. You can use it. Cold Hands Chai asks, does Blazor good when compared to React or Angular for developing front end? Back-end, they're a back-end developer who uses C#. So what you're going to find is Blazor as a single-page application running inside of WebAssembly starts up slower, has a larger footprint to download, because you're downloading an entire .NET framework to run in the browser. However, when you're doing computationally intensive things in the browser, nothing compares to it. None of the JavaScript frameworks come close to comparing to it. It's upwards to 10 times faster. That said, doing typical forms over data things are not as optimized for WebAssembly in the browsers yet. And if you're just doing typical forms over data, you're going to see a little bit faster performance in React or Angular. However, that's what us as developers will see. If you show that to a typical non-developer person, non-technical person, they won't know the difference. They won't know the difference. Hello, Pavel in Bulgaria. It's good to see you. Hello. Yes, Blazor is very similar to React in terms of the component-based approach. However, React does the whole JSX thing and tries to mix JavaScript and HTML in a weird way. Pavel's been developing their first .NET API, wondering what is the best way to separate services from controllers in ASP. What project structure design patterns are appropriate? Look at a facade. Check out a facade pattern. You're going to be injecting services. Try and move all of your logic, all of your business logic, all of your data interaction, database interaction logic, data storage, data retrieval, data formatting. Move all of that out into some sort of a service that knows how to connect out to a repository. So a service, business service. Oh my goodness, excuse me. A business service with a repository pattern is going to get you to a point where you've got things separated. The only thing your .NET API should do is handle the interactions with the request. Handle the interactions with the request, hand it off to a service, let that service do its thing, and when the service is done, it hands you a block of data, some payload to format and send out and do that appropriately for your service. Keep the interactions, keep the things that your API does as small as possible, and move your business logic out into a service. Think about your APIs, your controllers, really delivering just the value that's needed for that platform. Interacting with the request, interacting with the form that was posted, the data that was uploaded, the HTTP headers. Only do those things. Once you get past that and you start deciding, okay, here's how I'm going to make my request to the database, here's how I'm going to format the data before I send it out to the requester, move that out to a business service. Trained more than 1,000 African developers on .NET technologies. That is awesome. Digital Lab for Africa TV. Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing the good news and your successes there. All the best to you in your endeavors ahead. Roger says, I didn't see that, but good, nice reasons when you should use Razor Pages and MVC. Yeah. Thank you. Roger, good to see you in Spain. Ominous project incoming? No, Serge, no ominous project. You love the voice. Thank you, 3-Putt Wonder. I try. How you doing there, Mohammed in Pakistan? Good to see you. Mo is here from New York City. How you doing? How about WebAssembly and the Microsoft Tech Stack? What about it? WebAssembly, you're looking at Blazor, and you're going to be looking in .NET 7. You're going to be looking at some native interactions that you can do. I don't even know what we're calling it yet. To allow you to compile some code that you can run on WebAssembly and access from JavaScript, from other frameworks, without having to carry a user interface with you. So that's coming. It's going to be, it's an experimental part of .NET 7 that I think folks will start to really appreciate. So, SADS, let's go. Yeah, in about 20 minutes we're going to go. That's what we're going to do. Popsy got wonderful advice. Oh, all the best to you. Taufik on YouTube, when I'm learning MVC, forget a little bit about C#, so how to handle or any solution for that. I don't have a solution for you on that, no. Browerus, how you doing there? Will Microsoft improve Entity Framework in Visual Studio? Better handling mapping database associations and class mappings with visual tools. There are plans to recreate visual tools. It's on the agenda. It's a timing thing, priority and timing thing. PKP Gamer asks, React or Blazor? I'm enjoying Blazor. You're asking a guy named CSharpFritz whether he likes a C# framework over a JavaScript framework. What? Come on. Yes, I like Blazor. And Blazor with an O, please. My Blazor's hanging up in the closet over there. It's a purple Blazor, crushed velvet. I've also got the purple sequin Blazor, and that's a very fine Blazor. It's magical. It's magical. So Blazor's been fantastic. You're gonna have a lot of fun and success with it especially if you're a C# developer. Manuel asked, is Blazor an experiment, or do I think it has a great future? It is not an experiment. It is fully supported as both previously as part of .NET Core 3.1, and it is fully supported as part of .NET 6. .NET 7, it is included and improved upon. It is no longer an experiment. It is fully available with production support that you can use, not just running on the server or running in WebAssembly, but now as part of hybrid native applications. You can build and install and run it natively for a Windows application, Mac OS application, or a iOS or Android application. It is the real deal happening in there. So, yeah, 4 or 5 years back, Steve Sanderson showed it off. Yeah, it's a long way from an experiment. There's been significant investment in it. There we go. Thank you, Badger, for jumping in, and Gleam. Hello, hello. Hop in the Cloud says, love Blazor, busy with my second project using it. Awesome. That's great to hear. Doing a project at home, using it as well. Fantastic. Glad to hear it. Is that Bobo 9? Do I think in the future this will be a thing in the enterprise level? What will be a thing? Do I think what will be a thing? Do I think Blazor will be a thing? I think it is already. I hear folks that say, "Oh, I'm not sure if we want to use that." You know, Microsoft might discontinue that. Microsoft doesn't discontinue things and they just completely disappear. That's not what we do. When Microsoft says we're deprecating something, it sticks around for another 5 to 10 years because we support customers that are still using it. We don't vacate and leave you with no capabilities, no hardware. Other big tech companies do that. Microsoft doesn't do that. That's right, Silverlight. We said, you know what, we're discontinuing this and supported it for 10 more years, even after all the other browser vendors removed the ability to install and run plugins like Silverlight. We maintained a browser just so you could run Silverlight for another 10 years, and then extended it for 2 years longer than that. Go ask AngularJS developers what kind of support they have. I'll wait. Xamarin team seems to be moving over while it merges in. Well, the Xamarin folks all work on .NET MAUI now. That's the evolution of Xamarin, is .NET MAUI. Kuna asks, what is more important, starting projects with clean architecture, making everything as perfect as possible, or making a project with functionality that just works and then refactor? The second one. Get your project working. Get your application working. This is kind of one of the concepts of lean development and Scrum approach, is get your project working. Write unit tests that go with it, or integration tests, and then refactor mercilessly as you need to add new features. Consider, if you started a project in 2002 and you were building a website, and you didn't in 2002 consider accommodating an iPhone or an Android device that wouldn't be invented for another 5 to 10 years. Is that technical debt? Or is that a new requirement that came along in 5 to 10 years because something new was invented and something new was presented? My point is, you can't accommodate all situations and scenarios that may not have even been considered and won't be considered for another 5, 10, 20 years. You can't. So there's a concept in lean development called YAGNY. That's an acronym, YAGNY. It stands for you aren't gonna need it. You don't need it. If it isn't part of what you need to deliver and run your application, don't build it. So, Kuna, I really appreciate the question here. Get your application working with the functions and technologies that you need and you have at your disposal now. And as new things happen, refactor and make it a little bit cleaner, a little bit easier to manage, to go forth and do cool new things in the future. What am I seeing? There's a hair right there. Oh my gosh. That's better. All right. Sometimes Microsoft should just kill it and stop extending. Says Daily Push on Twitch. Here's the thing. When customers are paying you, you're going to continue giving them the product they're paying for. There is a line that you negotiate and set and say, okay, here's how far out we're going to allow you to pay for this because we want you to get to these newer technologies that we can support and that are going to do a better job for you. But you need to draw a line and you need to say, I will take your payments and support you up to this point. So, Diego says, in a large solution with 200 projects, only 10 plus or minus is better to handle the connection to the database with Entity Framework or develop your own SP, I'm not sure what SP is, in classes when the business logic is complex. Your own service principal, your own stored procedures. I would try and consolidate that database interaction as much as possible. Dare I say, one set of classes, one project for each database, and for each discrete business use. So here's the accounting stuff. Okay, there's an accounting data interaction project. Here's the warehousing inventory management. Okay, here's a project to do that and interact with the inventory management database and have them in two separate places. Let me see here. Thank you so much, friends, for chiming in here. Thindall, almost everything is built as a minimum viable product prototype before being perfected. Yes. Yeah, I can buy that. Getting things working and see if they actually work as intended before spending tons of time making it perfect right from the start. Yes. Build that concept. Get that concept working. Show it off to the decision makers, and then go invest to make it better. Who's Steve? Steve who? Dependency Injection in .NET book. I have not read that book, but why do you need a book about it? I would question why you need a book on it. Dependency Injection in .NET, if you're doing something very complex with dependency injection, I would suggest that you're doing it wrong. Dependency injection as a concept is a simple pattern. When you start making it complex with different flavors and varieties of the same services that deliver the same types of objects but pivot slightly based on different scenarios, and you're doing too much. You're overcomplicating your application. I have yet to see an application where dependency injection needs to be complicated. Stored procedures. Yeah, that's what I thought as well. James Foreman, how you doing there? On YouTube asks, what are my views on design patterns? Are they always necessary, or is it just better to finish the application? I'm returning to .NET development after doing DevOps for a few years. Love .NET 6. I think design patterns, I'm going to sound like a pirate from Pirates of the Caribbean. They're good guidelines. I think they're fantastic guidelines when you think about very large architecture, and I specifically say large architecture, getting design patterns right from the get-go in a small project is difficult because you're going to end up putting in a whole bunch of extra structure and things that aren't necessarily needed for a small project. The collection website that we've been building didn't need a lot of services and repository patterns and right, there was no need for those types of things because we built 4 or 5 web pages. Do we need something complex like CQRS to drive that? No. So, no need. Figure out when they need to come in when you involve more than one system. When you need to start thinking about distributed computing, you start needing to think about different forms and models of your application because it needs to run not just on the web, but as a desktop application, as a mobile application, as a series of services, distributed as a series of Windows services, Linux services, as a series of microservices, and you're putting it out to a whole bunch of different places. Now we need to think about design patterns because it's growing and it needs to be able to be manageable across all of those facilities. React, Electron like Discord. I'm not sure what you're referencing. User ABCDEFG. ABCDEFG. I'm going to need to change my password. Manuel says, I love Blazor. I have a progressive web app, business to consumer. And I'm translating all the acronyms here. Blazor server plus WebAssembly plus MAUI shared the same user interface RLC project. See, now you lost me on RLC. Real life container, real large capacitor, really lucky champions, really late. I don't know what. I'm sorry, I don't know what RLC is. Fantastic. Glad to hear that you're enjoying Blazor. You don't really understand why there's much skepticism about C# and Blazor apps. Folks in the web community, they they want commitments to platforms to being available for a very long time. And WebAssembly, quite frankly, is viewed as another plug-in model, even though it is another feature of HTTP and HTML. So the question is, if you can program with any language and take advantage of all of those features of that language in a new place, wouldn't you want to do that? And that's where I don't understand the skepticism either. I agree with you. Hey, Tiger Pleb, good to see you. Will I show some refactor code idea plans with this sample? I don't know. James, how you doing on Twitch? Do I feel that Blazor hits a different market than React does, or do I think the market will shift into one or the other? I think the market is going to shift into WebAssembly. I think what React does right now is just fine for forms over data and manipulating the HTML document object model. I think React has already been out there for 10 to 15 years and has been hardened by the folks at Facebook. And I think also the folks at Facebook have tried to pull a fast one several times with the licensing on React. So if I was a React developer, I'd be wary of the fact that Facebook is not exactly the friendliest organization to developers. And they continue to prove that. They're not a developer company, they're a social media company. They're a company that sells advertisements and they sell aggregations of data, personal information. That's their business model. They're not making React for you. They just happen to publish it because all the things that they're doing with it, they need new features for. You just happen to be getting the side effects of it. So, same thing with Google. Google sells advertising. Angular just happens to be the tool they're using to build some of their web applications, and they're publishing it and making it available for you. Is it something that they're thinking of your best interest when they're building stuff? No. They're building for their internal customers and publishing and making that available. So you just happen to be benefiting from it. Once again, Google does not make tools for developers as their primary product. They give away Flutter. They give away Dart. So what incentive do they have to make better tools for you? That's when it becomes important to be a paying customer. When you're a paying customer, then you could say, hey, I bought this thing. You need to continue to support me. When you don't pay for something, when you get everything for free, you kind of have to go along with the direction that the folks that drive that project want to take it. Taufik, I believe you asked this question earlier. After MVC, what is good to learn? And I mentioned Blazor components. I would also work on improving your C# language as well. Is Cold Hands Chai asks, is gRPC an upgrade to WCF? It's not a direct upgrade, but it's a logical replacement for it. For a lot of things. Particularly RPC interactions from WCF. WCF service calls using SOAP services. Move off that, get to RESTful services. And even gRPC will do that better. But I would consider gRPC a logical upgrade. It's not something you can upgrade to directly, but it's going to give you a lot of the same capabilities. That said, there is also the core WCF project, which has a lot of the features available to you now in .NET 6. Ahmed on YouTube says, I mentioned having services to keep business logic. Will generating controller codes be changed to have service in the future? No. No. Generating controller code is designed right now in the templates to build and interact with things that are very simple interactions with database using Entity Framework. Once you grow beyond that, you get more complex. You can build your own templates at that point and manage those because your services, your things, that's your consideration, your design. So, Amir is a PHP and Laravel developer who loves to learn .NET but could not find a developer-friendly course on it. Any suggestions? What do you mean by developer-friendly? We have tons of content for you available at .net/learn. I'll put that link here in chat, including videos, including live events that we're hosting, including .NET Conf coming up in November, where we're going to be teaching all about .NET. So let me know, what are you looking for? And as a PHP developer that's looking to get into .NET, take a look at peachpie.io. I'll post that link as well. And that'll let you take your existing PHP knowledge and scripts, recompile them to work on .NET, and it'll actually run faster on .NET. So check that out. They have some documentation, some performance notes over there that I think you might be interested in. James says, I don't think design patterns are necessary for hobbyists or smaller freelancing apps. No, I wouldn't. I would not consider a larger architecture pattern for a small freelancing app or a hobbyist project. I would certainly consider things like a repository pattern, and I did that for interacting with my database when I built the ClipTalk application. Turned out it was a very wise idea to put a repository pattern in place because that let me migrate database storage from Azure storage that I used as a very simple initial approach to MySQL and now to RavenDB just by changing the implementation of my repository. A little bit of dependency injection as well. So thinking and knowing how your application is going to grow, especially building a hobbyist or a freelance app, I would consider a design pattern minimally and really focus on just get the thing delivered, because you can always refactor into design patterns later. And if you're freelancing, well, now you got yourself a second job, a renewal of your contract. Razor Library Component Project. Okay. Yeah, there's absolutely Razor library components are going to. I believe you're going to see more and more of those being created and shared across the .NET community. This is a wrap-up stream, so I'm not really going to stop here for questions. I'm going to continue answering questions. I'll show you a little bit of what we fixed. There's a couple questions that were submitted into the issues for the repository for the C# with CSharpFritz series. We'll go through and talk about those and take a tour of where the application is and how I've got it running right now in Azure. Final Stack points out that RLC is a really lazy cat. See, I knew it. I knew it was something. You got it there. It's a really lazy cat. Okay. Mohammed has a healthcare application, mid-size application with .NET 4.6 and Knockout.js. That's an older application. Okay. Planning to shift to the latest stack of .NET 6. Which stack do I prefer? Yeah, .NET 6. .NET 6 with Blazor is what I prefer. You're already running with Knockout. You can migrate all your stuff forward with Knockout and ASP.NET MVC, and you'll be just fine. You can still use MVC. It's a slightly different syntax when you get into .NET 6. I think you'll find that it works quite nicely. We have an upgrade assistant tool that will get your application running with .NET 6. That, I think, will be a good way for you to move forward and continue to see new life with that project. However, I would, where appropriate, pivot and try to bring in either Razor pages, React or Angular or Vue if those technologies are familiar to you, or even Blazor, and see how that works for you. You're welcome for the information, Kuna. You started another project with Blazor. Love it for its simplicity and capabilities. That's fantastic to hear, Kuna. Thank you so much for sharing. Chuck Beasley's here on Twitch. Hello, hello. Arian, that might be true, but yet again, while C# being a language where you learn to develop many different platforms at the same time, why then pick that much on Blazor as a framework? Agreed. Blazor works in a bunch of different environments. I agree. Blazor is a very flexible tool for building user interfaces. Hey there, Sparky Pugwash on Twitter. Hello, hello. Is it Bobo9 or is it Boboy? I'm not sure how to pronounce your name. I'm assuming the two X's on the outside get ignored. C Family Lang, hello. I'm doing just fine. It was a wonderful weekend this weekend. I got to visit my daughter at Penn State. Saw a women's volleyball game. Women's volleyball is a fantastic fantastic sport that the students at Penn State really support. They've got a very good team there, and it was great to see them play those Fighting Illini of Illinois University this weekend. And Penn State won 3-0. So very happy to see that. Arthur on YouTube, do I think developing in Visual Studio Code and not Visual Studio makes a big difference for small projects? No, I don't think it makes a big difference. There are generators and tools that you can use at the command line that'll make you just as productive in Visual Studio Code. There are folks that don't like the integrated development experience of Visual Studio. That's fine. If you like to work in Vim, I understand there's a Vim meta on Twitch, and if you're not coding with Vim, you're not a real developer. Folks that say that are gatekeeping, and they're not actually looking out for you. They're not trying to encourage you to be a better developer. They're trying to encourage you to use their favorite tool. I want you to just be successful. I don't think there's a difference whether you use Visual Studio Code or Visual Studio in small projects. You're going to be successful either way. So, yeah, all the best to you, Arthur, and that's why we've made documentation available when you look at the .NET documentation online. So now if you go to learn.microsoft.com and you look at the .NET documentation, you'll see it's made available for Visual Studio Code, for Visual Studio, for command line, and we make it clear how to do everything. So we want to make sure that, once again, you're successful. Thindall, how you doing? Google Analytics doesn't just analyze for your sake. It's a heck of a good data point for their indexer. I don't know where that came from. What are the things we are going to discuss about today? We're going to go over and review the project that we've been building and answer a couple questions about it and show some of the fixes and things that we've been rolling out. And we're preparing for next week. We're going to start with .NET MAUI. Also today, because it is October, we're going to be working on a Linux machine, writing code and interacting over there. You consider Google Analytics to be one of the best analytics solutions out there? Totally agreed. However, folks like to block it, which means if I want to capture those same analytics, I've got to write my own tools, and I still get the same data, and you're not going to block it then. So, why? You're literally wasting your time. And now mine. Am I taking class every day? No, I don't take. I don't take classes every day. I teach classes Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. So what is that? 4 days a week? Is it Melagy or is it Melagy? I think it's Melagy. On YouTube, asks any news about the Visual Studio Code C# OmniSharp changes. They're working on them. It is a slow rollout because there's a couple of moving pieces there. Folks from the OmniSharp team have been helping out, is what I understand, and the goal there is to make the C# interactions in Visual Studio Code better. So should be coming soon. I don't have a timeline. There's been some discussion going on. But I know they're moving forward, and it's a little bit slower than I believe I heard it's a little bit slower than they were expecting it to be. Odnalro asks, I've been searching Twitch TV for possible person that does .NET MAUI. Have not been able to find any channels. There aren't many folks that do .NET MAUI on Twitch. Our friend James Montemagno will code with .NET MAUI, and he's moved over to YouTube. You'll find him coding with .NET MAUI over there. I would say our friends Jimmy and Jessica Ingstrom, Coding After Work is their channel. They code with .NET MAUI as well, and Blazor. You'll see them doing a little bit over there. Orkin says, why did I say Google abandoned Flutter? I did not say Google abandoned Flutter. I said Google abandoned AngularJS. Google's work on Flutter, they're not selling it. That's not a product that they sell. They have no reason to continue maintaining and delivering it, and they could abandon it at any time because there's no investment. They're not seeing income from Flutter. Malagi says, love Visual Studio Code for C#. It's pretty cool to see the C# editor and support all over the place with Visual Studio Code. I agree with you there. Could use a little bit of polish. And I appreciate the work that is being done to improve that. Arthur Kelly says, totally agree about developer content. This channel, oh my gosh, thank you so much. Not trash talk, just real professional talk about development. And I'm not selling you something. No. And friends, Arthur makes a very good point here. I'm not selling you anything. I don't care if you purchase Visual Studio, if you purchase Azure credits, if you purchase Windows, doesn't matter to me. I'd really like it if you tried Azure. I think Azure has a fantastic value that it delivers for the cost of goods that you're purchasing. I think you're going to see better performance, interaction, and sustainability when you use Azure. That's been my experience. If you don't, that's okay too. That's the cloud that I prefer. That's the cloud I use. Visual Studio is a fantastic tool and continues to get better. So if you choose to use Visual Studio Code or the command line tools with something else, that's okay too. I'm here to teach you about .NET. I'm here to encourage you and show you that you can be successful with .NET, and .NET is the fastest, most productive framework and tool set out there. Tell your friends, tell your families, tell your pets. if you say, you know what, I'd rather use Go, go ahead, go use Go. Enjoy. If that makes you happy, that's fantastic. I think you're going to take a look at Go, and at some point you're going to come back and go, I was able to do things a little bit faster with C#. Just saying. Need the orange version of the hat? You're welcome, James. Good to see you. Mo asks, how do you understand more about .NET Core internals? What do you mean by internals? Help me out I want to make sure that I understand. What do you mean internals? Garbage collection, memory management, processor handling? And I would then ask, why? .NET and C# are managed languages and frameworks. So when you think about that, these tools have been built so that you don't have to worry about memory management, the processor, and some other things. You can take steps to be a better developer, be a better citizen about how you use those, so you use memory more efficiently, so you consume processor more efficiently. But for the most part, you're protected from that by the compiler. Vim or nothing, yeah, see? VS for unit test. Visual Studio has a very nice unit test interaction and set of tools now. I agree. Notepad for all the things, says Napalm. If that makes you happy, fantastic. Once upon a time, Thindoll coded in Nano on a terminal interface. I did that at one point as well. Coded PHP in Nano on a terminal interface. Yep. And you can do that. If that makes you happy, if that makes you productive, fantastic. I've got some tools and technologies that I'd like to show you that I think are going to make you much more productive. C Family Lang asks, can I show things about CQRS and microservices, RabbitMQ, or are they out of services? Those are a little bit further outside the scope of what we're going to talk about today. CQRS as an architecture is something that folks get very passionate about, and there's a lot of folks that believe that Jimmy Bogart's Mediator framework is the only way to do CQRS now. And I think those people are they're misunderstanding the whole point of the architecture. Mediator is an implementation of that architecture. ASP.NET MVC is an implementation of the MVC framework. Ruby on Rails is an implementation of the MVC framework. Is one better than the other? Is one the authoritative only way to do it? No. No. They're fantastic implementations that are great for those languages, but that's a whole nother discussion. CQRS and RabbitMQ are, let's be clear, RabbitMQ is a service bus implementation that rivals things like N Service Bus, Azure Service Bus. MQ series is just a queuing feature technology from IBM, but you have your choice of these. Being able to choose which pieces you want and being able to super glue them together effectively is what makes technology so wonderful. Anastasio, hello. Good morning to you. Started learning C# last month. You're very welcome. Yeah, 10 different servers. Okay, cool. Thank you, Thindle. Blazor should have dynamic form builder, please. Why? Why? And then I would suggest build an open source implementation of it. Publish it. Can I show things about CQRS or microservices? Yeah, they're out of context today. You think Ed Charbonneau does a lot of Maui on stream? He has been. They have been on the Code It Live channel. You're right. Most people on Twitch just do JavaScript. They do. I think there's a Rust meta that's happening on Twitch as well. That I think. I don't want to name names, but I think some folks from a large tech company that all work together are promoting, and that's fine. That's just fine. I don't think I've got concerns about Rust. I've got concerns about Rust, and I'll leave it there. GCP abandoned IoT service too. They did. Do I know how ridiculous that is for people who bake their services into using that? Yeah. Yeah, I do. And then giving them a year to get off of it. This is what Google does. If they're not making money, significant money from a service, they cut it immediately. They fail fast. Google does what some folks call promotion-driven development. Build a new project, get it deployed, get your promotion for building that new project and getting it deployed, and then move on to the next thing that you're going to build. And the folks that are left behind, they don't know how to manage it. They don't want to manage it, and it's not making the income that it was supposed to, so they discontinue it and get rid of it very quickly. That's the way Google does business. There's many folks that have documented, written this up, and you can see many projects that have fallen by the wayside from Google of it. That's the way it is. That's the way they do business. You want to do business differently? Start your own company. Thank you, Weak Potato Clone. Thank you so much for the kind words there. Little Dan45 says the most productive framework for them is Django. The bad thing is it's a bit slow. Okay. That's, hey, sure. And if that makes you productive, that's what you enjoy, fantastic. Will Visual Studio come to Linux anytime, asks Yazdi82 on Twitch. I like working on my Linux machine, but my projects depend a lot on Visual Studio. Resharper, deployment, unit testing. No. No, it won't. That's why we built Visual Studio Code. Because Linux developers, when we surveyed them, said we'd prefer a text editor that we can extend and customize the way that we want. So we built Visual Studio Code. So, no. Visual Studio isn't coming there. Because you have Visual Studio Code. And the thing is, Visual Studio Code is the most popular code editor in the world. Yeah, Notepad is not productive. Has Google abandoned Angular? They've abandoned AngularJS, the first version. Can I run .NET Core framework on Nginx? Is it officially supported? .NET Core does work with Nginx. Yes. It is officially supported. Yes. There is documentation for you to use. ASP.NET Core and Nginx. There we go. And I will share that link to install and run ASP.NET Core 6 is this article right there from the official documentation. Fully supported over there. Where should you use Singleton? Asks Chess Diary. Depends. Use singletons and things that you don't want to recreate or things that you want to have shared memory across your entire application. That's important for you to share, manage, and work with. 0% chance of... No, Google completely rewrote and abandoned AngularJS, the old original version. Tiger Pleb asks here, what is the use cases of bringing C# garbage collector to ASP.NET web projects? I don't know. I've never heard that. It's already there. I'm not sure what you're asking, Tiger Pleb. The ASP.NET ASP.NET has a garbage collector. It's already there in the web projects. Tutorials on how to do responsive UIs with XAML. Why? You don't have responsive screen sizes with XAML. They're the same screen size. Unless you're doing WPF, in which case there are directions on how to do different layouts so that they expand appropriately the various columns and things. Yeah, AngularJS, not Angular.io, AngularJS. Two different things. Let me see here. Oh, how far back is that? 1007. Yeah. All right. Biggest thing for you as a self-proclaimed Microsoft dev advocate. Microsoft has done a fantastic job overall keeping things supported, creating good bridges. Yes, that does mean a lot to enterprises. Hello. Where Singleton used in... I don't know what you're talking about. Can we get Microsoft to bring back MSN Messenger? No, because they moved on to Skype. Code a ClipDoc extension with Twitch that uses Nginx. Yes, and it's also Node.js. Also ICQ. ICQ, Microsoft doesn't own. What class in the .NET framework is a singleton? You can take a look at the source code and go find one. I don't know off the top of my head. A lot of people in programming don't know AngularJS is not Angular 2 or Angular IO. Yeah, agreed. Yeah. Angular 2 is alive and kicking, and they continue to evolve it. What about the stack .NET Angular? It's fantastic. A lot of folks do that. Because .NET for web services. .NET for building web services is easily, like, head and shoulders, the most productive and fastest web services that you can build on the internet. With technologies that are available today at the beginning of October 2022, you're going to be able to build them quickly, and they're going to run extremely fast. You're going to be able to deploy, put them into a container, and get them into your favorite cloud service immediately. It is crazy how quickly you can build an extremely fast API to work with .NET. Sundarshan is a student, want to be a .NET developer, work in a big tech company. There's millions of other tech companies. Don't stay focused on just Microsoft or Google. How can you start a beginner-friendly course? I keep posting the same location for folks to get started. .net/learn. There's all kinds of places you can go there. What is the internal encapsulation of what? C family lang. Quick tip out there for those of you in the chat room. When you ask a question, give me the entire context of it, because there's two different chat rooms, lots of folks chatting, and I don't remember your previous questions necessarily. So give me an entire context there, and I can better answer your questions quickly. So help me out there, C family lang. Let's get you an answer. All right. I'm going to set up here. Let's get ready to do a little wrap-up, do a little bit of review here. Get on the other headset, because we're going to go over to the other machine. Oh my gosh. And that's still working over there. And let's see, I'm going to peek over at the other... Oh my gosh, and that's working too. This is October. Every October... I don't know if you watch this over there on the Twitch channel, the Twitch stream. You know, the twitch.tv/CSharpFritz. Every year, every October, I celebrate a theme month that I call Ubuntober. I spend the entire month writing .NET code with Ubuntu Linux. We're writing Ubuntu code. We're writing .NET code, C# code, on a laptop from our friends at kfocus.org. And we're going to take a look, and we're going to do some work over there using command line, using Visual Studio Code. I like to use the Firefox browser. We'll use a little Google Chrome to write some code, and get it deployed out to Azure. Let me take last few questions here. Why do we need to use records instead of class? You don't need to use records. Records make the construction of little objects, little plain old C# objects, simpler, faster, and easier to interact with. So, as a developer, I can write one line and get an entire record that would be a plain old C# class in dozens of lines of code. Makes it very easy for me to write that. Why do we use the internal encapsulation in a class? An internal class? Because you don't want it shared outside of the project. That's why. You're an expert at writing a ton of small disjointed messages. When there's a lot of folks here, it no longer makes sense. Agreed. Yes, we'll be writing .NET code on Linux. There's my Fritz emotes. Thank you so much, Ionescu. Is there a known issue with Visual Studio 2022 performance? I would need to see that. I don't know of one, no. I run the preview versions of Visual Studio 2022, and I haven't seen anything like that. You have issues and want to learn, invest your time into MVC or Blazor. Try both. Blazor seemed more intuitive and faster to create. Fantastic. They both work on ASP.NET, so go try and use the one that makes you happy. Let's go head over to the other machine and let's wrap up the project we've been writing here and have a little bit of fun talking about some of the other questions that we've gotten. Let me head over there now. Ugh, where's my coffee? Where's my coffee? I need coffee. Coffee is good. Coffee is my pal. Coffee is good. Ah, darn it. Where'd my screen go? There it is. Ah, yes. There we go. And that screen turned off. Well. Okay. All right. We'll keep an eye over on this one. There we go. Internal versus private. Thank you, Thindall, for answering question there. I had just rebooted this, and I'm over in the wrong folder now. C# with CSharpFritz. There we go. And I'm going to jump to the main branch. Pull in the latest. Doing everything at the command line. That's how you know it's Linux, because I'm doing everything at the command line here, right? Ah, yes. Look at all that text. Smells like Linux. It must be. All right. And let me go down into... This is the collection website. Let me open VS Code here. So, yes, we got an update there. That's fantastic. No, I don't want that. So, we wrote a little collection website. And the last time we got together, we did deployment. And we talked about what was involved in getting this application built, compiled, and running out on Azure. Why on Azure? Because you're watching a Microsoft channel, and that's our cloud. I'm not perfectly in focus. I don't know what to tell you. The camera is not auto-focusing on me, I'll tell you that. I can try and take a minute here and get it in focus. We'll see if it works. We'll see if it works. It either helped it or it made it really bad. And I can't tell because I'm not standing in front of it while I'm doing it. I think that's a little better. Might not be. I don't think so. Crap. Oh. Oh. Let's see how we're doing. See, I'm way out of focus now. I went the wrong way. I can't tell because I'm literally focusing on a green screen. You know what I mean? It's like it's either there or it isn't. I think that's about as good as we're gonna get. All right. You follow me and Nick Chapsis, and both share a lot of great information. You're welcome, Cold Hands Shy. Glad you enjoy that. Cool. So we did this. We got this up and running now. There was a question a little bit earlier. It wasn't working perfectly the last time. What did you get it working? Yes, I did. It's out here you can see it there. Fritz Collection website, azurewebsites.net. And it's out here on the big Microsoft Azure. Come on, Azure. I'm telling all my friends about you. Come on. Load up. Thank you. So here's the big Microsoft Azure, the big dashboard that shows you all the things going on. The application is out there, and it's not really doing anything. Nobody's browsing to it. But there's the website running, and the interactions are out there and things. And it interacts with the database now, right? And not everything is wired up or secured all the way, and that's okay. For purposes of these demos, it's fine. It's out there. It's running. It's doing its thing. So when I look at deploying that content, we deployed and we had a SQLite database. Let me move you over. You're not going to let me pull these two together, are you? When we deployed that SQLite database, it had to be included in the deployment. So I had to add this line, none include, and this tells the compiler, none, don't compile this thing, it's some other file. It's a SQLite database file. But I did not include this, copy to publish directory. By including this bit right here, it makes sure that this file, when it's built, when the project is built, is included and deployed out to production. This was the last piece that I needed to get running. Let me see here. Records are similar to classes. Yes. They do have some built-in features. You can write a class that acts like a record. Yes. Consider a record more like a shorthand class. It's a shorthand way to write a class. Switch to a mobile device. What? Thank you so much, friends. You're on a 4K 27-inch TV. The Fritz is huge for me. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. So hard. Well, I'm not showing code yet. When I'm ready to show you code, it'll be the right size here for you to see. So I put this into the project file, and I'll show you where that is. Dun, 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 dun. I believe it's, yep, there it is. Right, so every .NET project has one of these project files, right? That, just like you might find in a in a package JSON file, right? It defines, well, here's the things I'm referencing. Here's the other things I'm including. So here, this says there's the .NET version that I'm using, some of the compiler features that I've turned on, the packages that I'm referencing with some configuration information being sent into those. But down here, there's that item group, this last item group, and it has just some extra information to include about what's going to be built and sent along when the application is constructed. So include this folder, the collection images folder, but none, don't compile, there it is, and it will build and make that available. So let me go over here. Is that bigger? Is that good enough? So let me go down into this folder. And if I say, I'll go into the source, and we can say .NET publish. I'll pass a -C for configuration. I want it to build release configuration, and output it to a dist folder. So go up one next to the source and publish it down there, and this will do that entire dance, compile, and publish. So now if we take a look at what's in the dist folder, nope, it's still not. You can see, oh, I'm not in tmux either. All right, fine. You can see it includes all these DLLs that it needs. It's a self-contained application. Everything to run the application is in this folder. But importantly, that's my application to run here on Linux. That's my application to run on other environments, right? I'll .NET and run this. And debug information if I want to carry that along. Runtime configuration, but all these other DLLs are ready to go. So from that dist folder, right? I can say just / my collection website. And on Linux, it just runs right here. And of course, I can jump right into that application. Yes, I know. I know. Yes, proceed. And it runs all locally. So This is what gets compiled up and runs on Azure. Good. Okay, so that answers, kind of wraps up that question from last time. Hey, Rambling Geek, good to see you. All right, so pretty cool. Gets it running, and it's out there available for you to work with. And of course, I get all the great logging here. So I wanted to make sure I went over that to cover all the debugging questions from last time. Another question that we had that came in that I want to make sure we get to was about adding Blazor pages to an MVC project. Now, you can add Blazor server side into a project. I don't think you want to so much add Blazor server side as you'd want to add a Blazor component and reuse it over in MVC. Let's talk about that real quick. So if I go up here, and if we want to add into our project where we this one, there it is. Right inside my project, I have controllers, models, views, right? And to recap for folks that may not have been here, I have a home controller that has these folders that has, like here, I have my index that's HTML mixed with C#. This is called Razor markup, and it's very easy for us to see. Here's exactly the HTML that's going to be rendered with some directions in C# to help format the application, right? I can do a for each in here and say for each will render and use this partial, use this little bit of template that I call an item card to format an object. We can, and I've got some scripts down here at the end that are being used, JavaScript that's being used and added onto the page. Okay. But if I want to add in a Blazor component, if I wanted to take advantage of that, maybe I've got a Blazor project over there and I've got an older MVC project that we're maintaining. To the question we had earlier, I want to get into MVC and Blazor and these things, but I'm on web forms. Well, once you get to MVC running on .NET 6, we can start to include and use Blazor over here. This is Kubuntu Linux. I'm running on 22.10. How much coding should we know to land a job? I can't answer that question. How much should you know? You should be able to build you should be able to at least build a simple application with whatever technology stack it is that you're trying to get a job on. Start there. Build up and advance your knowledge appropriately. If you can build in this case, we're building a simple collection website. Once you learn how to build that, and you're confident in that, and you can reuse and you can do these things without having to go look up and find how to do the different techniques, now you can go and start advancing your knowledge in other directions. Let me add a project here that we can reference. So I'm going to go right next to this, and let's create a Razor class library. So when you say .NET new at the command line, you also get the ability to say file new project. You get all these templates. We're going to create, there's the RCL that I saw somebody reference earlier, the Razor class library. Let's go create a Razor class library here. So I'll specify .NET new Razor class lib, and I'm going to output it, and let's call this components. So that'll create a new project and put it into a folder called components. So over here now, if we take a look at the folders, there's components, and I have this component 1 Razor that's sitting out here that has all the things needed to format a little div. There's some other things that are in here as well, but if I want to get component 1 into my project, I'm going to go into my source folder, and I can say .NET add reference components. And it adds a reference to that library. Now, this is because I have the CS proj. I have the project, all the source, here locally. You could take that components project. I could take this. Not public. Publish. And if we look in what's in the dist folder, I get all these DLLs. I could publish this, wrap this up as a NuGet package, which then we can reference and add to other projects across other solutions, even upload to NuGet.org as part of a larger part of the .NET ecosystem. I'm not doing that today. I'm not going to go through and finish making this into a NuGet package. There's instructions for how to do that available for you out there. There, that's gone. So I've added that reference, so now I can use component 1 here inside my index page. So let's go down here to the views, index, and before I go anywhere, I don't need to do this here. Nah, leave that there. Let's open this up in this terminal. I'm going to go into 1210 sort. Here, I'm going to .NET Watch. And that'll be running. There it is. There's my collection. Okay. So now I can go and add where is it? Render component. So close. So close. Not what I need just yet. Component, components, component 1. And I think I need a render mode here. It's not going to give it to me, is it? Static. What are we saying here? Render component. What am I missing? What am I missing? Because I did this in another project. ASP.NET Core. It's the render. Yeah, this one. I was just doing this. Double check my syntax. Not status changed. I was just doing this. Render component, yeah. Now I'm going to have to cheat and go over to another project, because I don't see it here. This guy did it, and I remember using something like this. No. Do I need to add server-side Blazor? I didn't think I needed to do that. I didn't think I needed to. Yeah. Component type of render mode static. There it goes. There it goes. And where's the error? There it is. What do we got? Rebuild. There, built components. Why aren't you showing this? Because it's the wrong site. This one. Components component 1 does not have there is no parameter that we're passing in here. So get rid of that. There it is. And now it's in. So let me go back and review exactly what we did there. I created a Razor class library, and I'm able to reference and bring it in now by using this component markup, specifying the type of the component that we're loading. Render mode static, it's just going to be rendered here. I'm not doing anything interactive with it. And we're able to load and show it on screen. So this way we can take things that are in Blazor and start using them over here in MVC. Now we've got code reuse. Now we've got capabilities to put these things in other places that you wouldn't have expected it. Yes, it is a Kubuntu laptop. That's right, Benny. Should everything related with a data model or backend services like sending email or other services be in a class library? I would do that. Yes, C Family Lang. I would move them out so that they're living somewhere else on disk, not just on disk, but you can then conditionally include them as you build services, mobile applications, and whatnot. And they're now being deployed appropriately for those other capabilities. And right, you've isolated them. You can test them in isolation without having to start the entire application. Kubuntu is the distro you use as well. Nedbog, fantastic. SQL Server 2019 needs some workarounds, nothing major. Running those things in a container should run well, but okay. So that's how you get Razor working inside of, and I didn't have to, how you get Blazor working. I didn't have to go and change anything inside my program, inside my startup. I was able to just reference the component library and start using those components here. Now, there are some other considerations that you need to be aware of when you reference and use, right, render Razor components. And this is with the component element. I thought it was in there, but I didn't see it. Templated components. Component. Can we find it with the tag? No. Maybe it's component tag helper? Is that where we're going to find it? Yeah, there it is. Integrating Razor components in a hosted Blazor WebAssembly app. So you can do that with WebAssembly as well. We did it with static here as a server-side app. And there it is. There's the syntax I was thinking of. But you can also pass parameters by using this syntax param dash whatever the name of the parameter is that you're trying to set, and it will pass that in. If you have templated content that you pass in, yeah, I don't see a way to, I don't see a reference for that. I would guess, let's go off script even further here. So if I had templated content that I was passing in here, right? So let's add a little code block. Public render fragment I could do child content. Sure. Right? And we could just say child content. So it would appear right in there. So if I go back over to my code here, can I just use sure, I'll just put whatever that is. Look at that, it put it outside of it, didn't put it inside of it. So I don't know how to use, let's see if we can explore and figure this out. I don't know how to use render fragment. For receiving a render fragment delegate, we recommend creating a Razor component that references the component you want to render with the child content you want to pass. Invoke the Razor component from the page or view with the component tag helper. Well, sure, show me how to do that. Tuples are supported for component parameters, blah, blah, blah. I don't see it. Parameter, tuple. Yeah. No. 37 matches. Oh my goodness. Render fragment child. Child content render fragments. Yes. And the property receiving the render fragment content must be named child content. Well, that's not weird at all. Like, right, I've already got that. Render fragment child, okay. So what they're saying is they're wrapping it and making that working. Yeah, run it as a Docker image. SQL Server 2019, run it as a Docker image. It's not in Docker Hub. It's in the Microsoft Container Registry. But if you search Docker Hub, you'll find it. So, good questions. I don't see this. This doesn't make sense to me here. Right? Because that's a proper render fragment with child content. By placing the content inside the child component's opening and closing tags. Yeah. Using for each, no. Show me where to do this. For reusable rendering object. No. How do I call it? No, I'm not seeing it. Or are they passing it in? Which feels really weird. Right? White space rendering? No. This feels weird. Not gonna lie. I wonder, somebody's got to have a good way to do this. ASP.NET Core Razor component render fragment. Tell me somebody's got a good write-up of this. No. No. No, I'm not dynamically building it. That's not what I thought. Right? No. So this is ASP.NET Core. This isn't Blazor. Is it going to be over here? Yeah, the cascading parameters, cascade multiple values. Yeah. Nope, you're not going to show me. Found it? Fantastic. Is it missing? Do I have videos on Azure DevOps CI/CD for SQL databases? No, I don't have somebody that I would recommend for that. Sorry. Is it missing parameter attribute? No. Well, hang on. Is yes, that is missing the parameter attribute. But yeah, see, it's outside of it. It's not rendering it as part of it, right? Right. This is one of the features of these components is the ability to pass in render fragments. And this is something I haven't tried before. So I'm going very far off script on what we're looking at here. Must be named child content, yes. And that works properly in Blazor, but when I'm using the component tag helper, right? ASP.NET Core component tag helper. Let's look over here. Yeah, component model. Yeah, this one. Component tag helper, right. For routable, non-routable components, if you're doing Blazor server, if you're doing Blazor WebAssembly, to render a component, use the component tag. Good. Render mode, blah, 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 blah. And if I want to pass fragments... for example, param child content. For this scenario, we recommend creating a Razor component that references the component you want to render with the child content you want to pass. That is example worthy. That bit right there. We recommend creating a Razor component that references the component you want to render with the child content you want to pass. That's really confusing. I'm going to take this back to the team, this block right here, and go stand on the other side, Fritz. I'm going to take see, now I'm too close to the camera. I'm going to take this block back and see what we can do to get a sample around this. That's a little ugly. Write the child in another component and call this component in the first component. That's weird. That's weird. Right, if I had to pass, right, param child content equals, right, if I had to do something like this, this is no, and do that. This is child content. Still didn't hit it. Handshake failed. What the heck? No. You down here. Rebuild. H1 does not exist in the current context. Fine. Yeah. The typer namespace child. Index 26. What if we do... Man, that's weird. Okay. If I wrap it as code like that, yeah, it really doesn't like that. Oh, maybe. No, you've hot reloaded me into a 500 error. So a render fragment is actually a delegate. So what if I did that? No. Yeah, feels weird. I'm not going to experiment further, but this could use just a little bit of a demo, a sample, something here, because showing how to do that for child content, I think, is important. Right, if I had a parameter on here called text, and we just called this text, and it was a string. Yes, restart the app. Really? Come on now. We just had that running. There it is. And now there's my little hi. But there's a way to pass render fragments, and that demo is not good in that bit. Why bother with another component? Just write the first one, lose the adaptability. No, no. Why are we using VS Code instead of Visual Studio? October, I use Linux all month long. So, okay, I'm going to do some research and figure out how we can improve this bit of documentation here. There's a there's a block of sample code here that needs to be written, and we need to figure out a better way to describe this, how you pass render fragments into there. Selfishly, I need to do that in another project as well. So that's a little bit about how to add Razor components into that. And I will link this page to the answer to this request. Use the component tag helper as shown in this page. And we'll get rid of the view there and the language specifier. Fantastic. How are we doing on time? Just about out of time. There was one other question here I wanted to try and get to. Architecture software solutions. Design solutions, why you would choose these different types of structures when you're building an application. Monolithic, microservice, end layers. So, let's talk Stone Tablet November. No. We're going to be using .NET 7 in November. So, why would you choose each one of these? And I'm going to answer this in 2-3 minutes. Monolithic, quite literally, I would use when I can keep everything encapsulated and I don't need to move my application anywhere, and I know this is all it is, right? I'm taking on the technical debt of I am not expanding outside of this application. This is the limitations of it. It fits nicely in this box, and I'm not reusing any of it anywhere. You see the folks at Stack Overflow, they've turned their website, where they were at one point using a very factored out architecture and deploying and using some distributed services at one point. They've pulled it all together, and now it's a monolith. It's just that website. Consequently, because everything's in the same project, because everything lives next to each other, they can optimize for interactions because they don't need to consider, they don't need to think about, well, what could happen in the future? It's just, here's all this does. Don't consider those other things. Tightly couple, build it, and it runs fast. And they can use and expand by adding other services that live outside of the website. Things like their memory cache for output caching content, and they put it outside of it. I would also look at a monolithic presentation if I was building a small application like this one we did for the collection website, and I don't need to think about all those other considerations. I know I'm just building this little website. I don't need to get complex. Microservices I would consider when there are different domains inside of your application. If you think about a storefront, you have an accounting domain, you have the storefront, and you also have a warehousing domain. They have different considerations for each of those. So when I'm building my storefront and I need to load up and present, well, here's all the content that's currently in the warehouse. That warehouse is an excellent example of a microservice that I can reach into and pull back information to present on screen. When I'm done going through and folks are going into their shopping cart to check out, that's an accounting interaction. I can reach over to the accounting microservice and push through those accounting interactions. There was this purchase made, and go handle that and handle reaching out to my payment processor and all that over in that microservice. And they can store data separately for those. And of course, when I complete my fulfillment, that's a warehouse operation. It's going to update the amount of content that I have available in the warehouse, which will update the presentation on the website. So microservice then lets me scale those differently. When I get into the end of year holidays, November, December, whatever you might be celebrating in your part of the world, in December, there's a big rush on the storefront. We need to be able to sell and present, here's the things that are available, well, I'm going to scale up the number of resources from my warehouse service so that it can answer all of those requests. Not just my website, but also my warehouse service, so it can handle the search requests. It can handle that additional data load that's coming in. I can add more instances of that service to support the anticipated additional requests. I may want to add some additional features, add some additional instances of my accounting services as well, so they can process all of that. But and I'll want to scale those up as we get through December. And as we get into January and there aren't as many people shopping, I'll scale down the number of warehouse services. And my accounting services, I'll still keep high for maybe another month later, because we're going to have returns to process. And it's going to have to go through those. And when we get into February and things start to balance out, I'll bring everything back down, scale it to some manageable level. So microservice lets you scale those appropriately. End layers, or onion architecture, you'll hear folks talk about as well, I think is a good practice in general, because it allows you to start thinking about code reuse and separation, and isolating your code so that it only does the things that it needs to. Gets into those solid principles. Setting up different layers of your application lets you think about single responsibility. I'm going to forget the various acronyms of solid. The open-close principle, the Liskov substitution principle. Interfaces, I think, is the I, and I forget what the D is. I forgot the I and the D. It doesn't matter. So the point is, you can separate, reuse, and you have dedicated pieces of code that do those different things for your application. That's where, and I would choose to use that layered approach so that you can isolate and make your code optimize each of those areas better, because they're isolated from each other and they don't have the concerns all intertwined over each other. You don't have to think about resiliency when you have monolith. You don't have to care about network outage, communication failures, timeouts. Agreed. When you have a monolith. When you have a monolith, just stand up multiple copies of the website. There's a half dozen of them. There's 6 of them sitting out there. Fantastic. If instance 5 goes down, who cares? I've still got 5 more. That's fine. So, yep, scale it up horizontally. So, all right. You're welcome, Walter, and I will get back and see what we can do to clean up that that article in the docs and see if we can make it a little bit clearer out of past render fragments. That's all the time we have today. I started a little bit late. I wanted to go just a little bit longer to make sure that we covered everything here. But this was a wrap-up. This was primarily a discussion. Not really teaching new code, not really going over new things, but having that discussion about the various things that are going on with our application and how we can make it, get it deployed and get it running well. I'm going to wrap up there. I'm going to call it a stream, and we're going to get ready. We're going to get ready next time to introduce .NET MAUI. And .NET MAUI, I'm going to be teaching probably here at this workstation. I won't be on the full stage, quite frankly, because this machine has the power that I need to demo it. So I'll be demoing from here, and it'll be weird to remote back and forth on the things. So, should you use solid principles in microservices? Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Chris Funk, glad you enjoyed. Always, these are conversations. These are talking through, figuring out, and hopefully improving how we can use these applications, how we can build these applications. So, next time, yeah, we're going to introduce and get started with .NET MAUI here on stream. Thank you so much for watching. Those of you watching on YouTube, I have dozens, hundreds of videos, I might say, available for you on the .NET channel. Check it out. It's right over there for you to review. There's a bunch of videos in this playlist that are available for you as well. And if you're watching on Twitch, let's get ready for a raid. Let's get folks connected to another channel. Let's see who else is streaming on the big Twitch TV network. that we can send you over to. I don't even know what these buttons are they put on the screen. What the heck? What? I don't even know what that is. Let's take a quick peek. Who else is streaming on the big Twitch TV network? And I'm going to send you over to... You know what? Let's go over to this friend. She's programming in HTML. And out of the UK, let's go over to White Panther. Yes, I know. We rated her a few days ago. I did that wrong. Fantastic. Thank you so much for watching, everybody on YouTube. Have a great rest of your day. And those of you on Twitch, hope you have a great day as well. We'll see you tomorrow over on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/CSharpFritz. Take care.